Hello and welcome to the We All Follow podcast. My name is Matt Fox. I am your host. Today I am joined by our venerable Nigel, Sean, and Ben. Welcome back, boys. How's it going?
Hey,
Darko's out with COVID, so he was supposed to join us today, but hopefully we can get him on next week ahead of the big run of games that Chelsea has. We can recap their big game this weekend, which is going to be against Liverpool, and then they got a couple ones coming up as well. So, Darko, get well soon, get some rest, put your feet up, and hopefully we can chat soon. Let's jump into the moment of the week once you guys hit follow on X at We All Follow Pod. So, Sean, you guys had a fun week. There's been a lot of international games. A nice dos a zero. Oh, I mean 0-2 for the United States and Mexico. What's your moment of the week, my friend?
yeah. To be honest, I don't even. Those U.S. games are terrible. As a bettor, I guess the moment of the week was the Romania goal because that won me a little bit of money. But watching Romania scoring in the second half, let's go. But I'll leave the England news to the other two guys. But I just think I guess today I saw that Italy is going to be in pot one for World Cup qualifying, and I had made the joke to the person that posted. I said I didn't think Italy was in the World Cup. I didn't think they tried to play in the World Cup anymore because they've missed the last two. So, I think, after all these games, it's just so many games and so many guys complaining about extra games. I just think, I'm ready for all this stuff. And I guess maybe the other thing was Ronaldo throwing a tantrum and running off the pitch after being held by Scotland. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Mixed bag of international results over the past week. Ben, what do you have for me on your moment of the week? Of course, because this was an international break, we have international games to choose from, as well as the last round of Premier League action.
Yeah, I mean, I can't lie. For me, with the international break, I just take it as like a week off sometimes. Honestly, I'm just like, just calm down, just relax from all of the stress of the normal game. But thinking back to the last Premier League week, Brighton Tottenham was a big one. Tottenham going 2-0 up and they're losing 3-2. Absolutely love to see that. Yeah, and Maddison. Yeah, I could go on about them lot.
Throwing 3 points away.
That wasn't good. But international, I can't think of top. I'll just say the England stuff. That's been today and yesterday. Tuchel being hired as England manager, I think that's huge news, obviously. But the reaction of it, how people are saying, "Oh, he's not English," blah blah blah. Everyone's got to be English, and it's just funny seeing how people react.
Nigel?
Yeah, I mean, the interlude is just boring, isn't it? But yeah, a couple of things really for me. But I mean, what stick out as moments of a week really. Cole Palmer finally being given a run on the right hand side for England, drops a stinker. He ain't Saka. Just admit it. Everyone tries it. No one can do it. Yeah, there's a load of imitations. There's only one real thing. No one's mentioning it. Yeah, no one can do Saka's stuff. Just moving somewhere else. That's not my moment of the week though. That's a bit of a dullard thing, isn't it? So my moment of the week is Wednesday morning last week. So a week ago today, and Twitter, Instagram, YouTube is a cesspit of Man United fans calling Ineos the new Glazers because they've not sacked Ten Hag on the Tuesday night. I mean, the thing is, right, who made up the story that they were going to discuss Ten Hag on this meeting? Because, I mean, Sean will tell you, because I messaged him the week before and said, listen, my guy who's close at Man U says they'll not sack him before November. Correct, Sean?
Yeah, that's right.
So the meeting on Monday was about the new ground, and the meeting on Tuesday was about targets and sales, not about the manager. So that was my moment of the week anyway. Was a head loss.
They announced today, I think, some in some of the different sources have announced today that United has gone with the 100,000 seat stadium, and they're gonna obviously why would they? Everyone was like, no, they're gonna keep it. Listen, they can rebuild the entire city and make this an epic. Like, there was no chance. This was been coming since 2011. My guy in Manchester was saying, listen, this is the plan for Manchester 15 years down the road. Like, everybody knew that was. If you've been in America and seen what's going on here, you kind of knew that was coming. And you could have just stopped at Twitter and Instagram was a cesspit. But it's a United fan. Look, and just throw this, like, the season. It just, who cares about? You're not getting top 4. See if you can win the Europa League. See if you can win another cup. They're gonna have a new manager next year at some point, and they're gonna have all these players coming through. They got a lot of talent coming through. Just hold your nose and watch it.
It did surprise me.
Sage advice from our friend Sean. My moment of the week. It was actually a pretty good game week last week. Honorable mention to friend of the show, Jarrod Bowen, who had 1 goal and 1 assist in West Ham's 4-1 takedown of Ipswich. But I wanted to take my opportunity. And it's easy to compare players to one another and talk about how this player's goated and this player's terrible. And, I think Cole Palmer is a wonderful player. And this section is not about Cole Palmer. He's very skilled. He might yet be world class, but he is not Bukayo Saka. And Bukayo Saka is a generational player. And you heard it here first. Bukayo Saka is generational. And you clip this up and you can come back and play it back for years to come, because you will have heard it here first on this podcast that Saka is a generational player. If you watched the game last week against Southampton, my man works harder than any right back and provides more than any winger. How is this? It's crazy. My man had 2 assists and a goal on the back of an amazing defensive performance. It's unbelievable what this guy continues to perform week in, week out. And then the complaints about the England thing. I'm like, go watch Vinicius play for Brazil. Let me know how that looks. Go watch any of these guys go play for their country, because it's a totally different game. But that being said, Saka is generational. He's got 7 assists already? I think he has a really good chance of breaking the assist record. I think he only needs 1 every other game for the rest of the season. And he's hitting those corners like I could put 1 sterling coin, right? And he's going to hit it every time on the corners. So shout out to Big Gabby, who had a man of the match performance for Brazil, who always gets shot on by the Brazilian fans saying that he's a bum. But Bukayo Saka, generational.
They've all changed their tune as well. I don't know if you've seen it. Some of them that have been just really cussing Gabby all the time, they're all saying, actually, he looks decent the past couple of games. I responded as well. I was like, it's almost like Gabriel wasn't the problem. Who'd have thought it?
Who would have thought that somebody else on that team might have been the issue? What a day. What a day to be alive, boys. We have the table. Like we said from last week, we will continue to run this down on a weekly basis. Top 4, Liverpool in first with 18. Man City and Arsenal tied on 17. Chelsea still on 14 points after a rough result last week at home against 10-man Forest. Darko would have been lamenting that result. As we predicted last week, Mystic Nige, Aston Villa having a bit of an emotional letdown against Man U after a big week in the Champions League. and then Brighton, Newcastle, and Fulham, followed by Spurs and Forest, rounding out the top 10. Ooh, I had to go really far down to find Manchester United in 14th, Sean.
Oh,
On-
yeah.
On 8 points.
Hold your nose. Don't look at the table. We're winning the Europa League. Don't worry about the Premier League at this point. Just play the kids.
See, if I'm Man United, if I'm Man United fan, I'm not worried about the 8 points. The bit what would worry me massively is the fact that only Southampton scored less than us. We've scored the least amount of goals apart from Southampton.
And they've scored in the bottom 5 lowest in major European leagues. That's a problem. I mean, their strikers stink and whatever. The system stinks, all this stuff. But it's going to be better at some point. We got some kid coming up. I think he's pretty good. He's called Cheeto something.
Chester Cheeto.
My new cat's name, by the way. A cat followed my fiance into the house the other day because it was real cold, and I did a poll, and it's like an orange cat, so it's called Cheeto Obi Martin, and our nickname is Cheeto. So it's because it's
awesome. I appreciate that. And then rounding out the bottom is Crystal Palace on 3 points, Southampton and Wolves on 1 point. Continues to be a struggle for Crystal Palace. I'm curious to. I mean, they lost to Liverpool. It was a bit of a drubbing, was it not? Statistically,
I genuinely think Palace were unlucky to not get anything out of the game because they should have 100% had a penalty on Mark Guehi. You can't hold someone's wrist. You can't hold someone's wrist and pull them back on it, and then let go and think, it's all right. Saying for the VAR to say, they've not held them long enough. Holding's a foul anyway. So they did. Was it West Ham as well who had a penalty not given against Chelsea? Was it or something like that earlier on this season? Yeah, and he held his wrist. And, yeah, Somerville got his wrist held. I'm thinking, hold on a minute. They're setting a precedent. They're setting precedents, and it's not good. And it's the same people who then set precedents about kicking the ball away and delaying restarts, which is a joke. And I think Palace are all done by. I mean, last week, I think in my predictions, I said Palace double chance against Liverpool, Fulham double chance against City, Man United double chance against Villa, and I had Everton double chance against Newcastle. Everton drew. Man United drew. Fulham were unlucky not to get a draw against City, and Palace were unlucky not to get a draw against Liverpool.
I hear you on the foul. Outside of that, though, Liverpool had a overwhelming majority of the possession, as well as it was like 1.5 xG to 0.6. At what point do you think that Glasner starts to come under fire here? You can explain away this result and that result. At the end of the day, you're 7 games in and you have 3 points, right? I think
the big thing is you look at the teams that have played. They have played some decent teams, Palace, but they've not had the hardest. They've not had the hardest schedule. They have played some decent ones, but not had the hardest schedule. The last 20 minutes against Liverpool, they were great. They were all over Liverpool. Liverpool bossed it for 70 minutes. Palace were on top for the last 20. And I think the problem what you got with Palace is he came in last season and immediately employed a new style of playing, and the players got onto it and they were like, oh yeah, this is great. And they got some instant results. This year, he's lost Elise, he's lost Anderson, and he's lost his goalie. Yeah, so he lost Johnston, he lost Anderson, lost Elise, and then they've brought in Kamada and Ketia, and Henderson's playing more in goal. Yeah, but the defense has changed, and he don't know his best defense. So they've got Gerhead, they've got Richards, they've got Maxence Lacroix, who we knew from German football. But they're struggling to find who's going to play there and who's going to play in midfield. I don't think it's helped for him that Wharton went to the Euros, hardly played at the Euros, but then has come back not fit, looks a bit leggy. He's not had a pre-season, and he looks injured. He don't look fit. Yeah, and he was your best player in that period when they were good at the end of last season. So you've got Kamada, new to the league, struggling, and Nketiah's having to play not as a centre forward, is maybe like a attacking midfielder, which it's not really his bit. Although you speak to a Palace fan, they think he's playing great. They think he's shifted. Eze is missing Elisa, and like I said, the back line just, they don't know what we're doing. They don't know who's going to be who. I think Palace will sort it out. I don't think Glasner will come under pressure because I think they're a much better team than where they are. The teams what should be worried about where they are is Wolves, who've had the hardest schedule so far. They've had the hardest schedule of games, but they have been drastically bad. To concede 21 goals in 7 games, 3 goals a game, is a disaster. Bearing in mind that I was there at the first game of the season against Arsenal, and I thought, Wolves are going to be good this year. They were great against us. We beat them 2-0, but they were great. And I thought, they're going to be good this year. And then next week, they got pumped by Chelsea 6-2. And I thought, maybe not. But there we go.
Conceded 5 against Brentford as well. I was just looking at the goals because I hadn't really looked at that before. And seeing Brentford goals scored, they're right up there. There's only City, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Tottenham that are higher, and they're level with Liverpool and Brighton on 13 goals scored. Obviously, they've also conceded 13. But it's interesting. I didn't really think too much about them this season, but they've looked quite solid and consistent. I think Thomas Frank, I don't know what more he has to do to get one of them big jobs. But on Palace, their next game's away at Forest. And I don't see them winning that. I think Forest away is a really tough game. And yeah, as much as I didn't really rate Nuno, he's got him getting that Milenkovic at the back. He's so solid. It helps them defend the box really well. And they've got so many players good on transition. So, yeah, I can't see him getting a result on the weekend.
If Brentford wins 5-0 this weekend, he might have a new job.
Maybe. Yeah.
Across the dugout.
Yeah, just walks across there.
Don't take the bus home.
Do you think they'll give him? Do you think they'll give him before the game a reversible suit jacket? So it's got a Brentford badge on one side, and he just reverses it, and it's got a Man U badge on the other side.
Like Superman, open up his shirt, and it's got a Man U badge.
Yeah. They've been good to watch. I mean, they've been fun to. Brentford's been fun. They score a lot of goals. And you're seeing all these guys from Brentford being linked with all these other teams now, so they've been kind of attack minded and been fun to watch. I think I've said a couple times here in this, those 10 o'clock window matches are always pretty interesting when Brentford's playing and some of these other Brighton's playing. There's going to be some goals. I think it's been a lot better this year.
Brentford dropped 5 on Wolves last week.
Yep, yeah, that 5-3 match. I think it's been a lot better this year with some of these extra matches. These in that hidden window. Obviously, if you're in England, unless you have IPTV, you can't watch it. But I'm watching 3 games at that time, so you kind of got the games going all over the place, and they've been pretty interesting to watch. So
the thing is with Brentford, they've scored in their last 4 league games. They've scored inside 120 seconds in all 4 games.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. Yeah, in the first, I think 4 times this season they've scored in the first minute.
Yeah,
and like a few seconds in a couple of them. It's crazy.
I mean, Mbuemo has 6 goals in 7 appearances.
Yeah,
well, they're a team, though. Yeah, they're a team who. And you see it you do see it quite regularly with some teams. They sell a star player, and all of a sudden, everyone else is better.
That's
We're Brentford too focused on hitting balls into Ivan Toney instead of maximising the players who were around him. If you look at Jan Wissa and Wemo, they're playing an unreal level. Well, not Jan Wissock because he's out injured, but Mbeumo, Norgard. Who's the other lad who's been?
Damsgaard's done better recently.
Damsgaard, yeah.
He's woken up, and remember when we signed him because he scored
Yeah.
against England, and everyone was like, "Have they got him?" And then he just did nothing, and now he's
King Lewis Potter for me has been the best one for them. King Lewis Potter has been unreal, and he's been a bit of a fulcrum for all of our good stuff has really come out of him. Him and Damsgaard have been great.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know classic legendary sports writer Bill Simmons has what he calls the Ewing theory. And the Ewing theory is been played out across a bunch of sports many years. I think the article first ran in 2001, but he talked about it before that. But the Ewing theory is when the best player gets injured or gets traded or leaves the team, that the team performs better without that player being the focus.
That was for the 1999 Knicks because the Knicks went to the final that year as the 8 with Larry Johnson and all those guys because Ewing was hurt.
Yeah, Johnson, Starks, Alan Houston. Was it Alan Houston? Or was it before Alan Houston?
Alan Houston. Yeah.
I remember that on my first birthday. I remember that on my first birthday watching that. I was like, "Oh wow!"
No, that's funny.
But no,
I remember we were at a family party, and we had the radio on during that playoff run.
Wow. You're filling it. Bill Simmons filler when he said was he 76? It was one year. Oh, you see, look at this, Sean. Look at this knowledge.
Yep. That's right.
Well, we have a big week of matches coming up, boys. We touched on Crystal Palace's trip to Forest, where Ben thinks that they're gonna have a hard time. We have Brentford, who we just discussed, and Mbeumo, who has 6 goals in 7 games, headed up to Old Trafford to knock in another one and put a stab in Eric Ten Hag's guts. I mean, were you guys surprised? We didn't have any managerial changes this international break, right, in the Premier League?
I was a little surprised. I thought, there'd be some. I guess maybe Russell Martin, the Southampton had a little bit of a response before the international break, so they haven't given up on him a little bit. And maybe Gary O'Neill, after that match, they didn't look great, and you can't go with 5 goals there. But and then obviously Ten Hag, but it's still so early in the season. I mean, we're only 7 matches in. I mean,
But this is the longest it's gone in a while since before the first sacking, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be interesting because invariably they don't fire the manager when they should during the international break, and then they come home and they lose to Brentford at home 5-1, and then they sack him right after, and they're like, "Why didn't you sack him before when you could have had the whole break to work with your team?"
Rude's the manager anyway at this point, right?
So, Nigel, you're a connoisseur of the finer things in life. Which games stand out to you this week as the ones that you're gonna pick out and tell me how they're gonna go?
I am very, very interested in 3. I'm going to ignore the big games. I'm going to ignore Liverpool Chelsea because everyone's going to watch that anyway. Everyone's probably going to watch Newcastle Brighton because I think that's quite a big game, to be fair. Newcastle Brighton's going to be a big game. No one's going to watch Wolves versus Man City because we all know that Wolves are going to get tonked. The games, the 4 games, what stand out for me is the second division London derby, which is Spurs versus West Ham. Fulham and Villa, I think, is going to be a battle of Europa League qualifying. But the big game for me of the week is not on your list. The big game for of the week for me is Southampton versus Leicester.
I do it so that you tell me that it's not on the list, and I go to the next slide and show all the matches.
Yeah.
This is how this podcast works.
Yeah.
If you haven't been here before,
Southampton versus Leicester is a genuine relegation 6-pointer, and we're not even at the end of October. I mean, literally, if Leicester if Steve Cooper takes Leicester there, and Leicester perform any way that they have in the last 2 games, so beating Bournemouth and nearly getting a draw at Arsenal, yeah. If they play anywhere to that level, they beat Southampton, and I think Russell Martin does become the first person to get sacked.
Yeah.
I was
genuinely
thinking if they get beaten badly, it depends. But I think if they get beaten badly, definitely, because Leicester are the one that beat them 9-0 before, remember, as well.
Yeah. I think this is make or break for Russell Martin. If Southampton win, he stays in a job. He got a bit of a response against Arsenal. They were decent. They didn't have any of the ball. The fluky goal on the break, but then they came back down to earth. But yeah, if they don't get a win, if they get a win, I think he gets a reprieve. But if they don't get a win, I think Leicester take heart in their last 3 games, and Southampton are in the mire. That is bad. And like I said, the other one what I'm going to pay close attention to is Fulham Villa, because I think Villa are on the verge of going full Unai, where they just capitulate.
Never go full Unai.
They absolutely blasted 100,000,000% of their nervous energy against Bayern Munich. They had a massive come down against Man United. Man U should have won that game. I don't know why they didn't. Playing Evans and Maguire at the back as well. Big up, Jake. But yeah, I think Fulham. I just think Fulham are a good side, and Fulham have got 3 ex-Arsenal kids who grew up together at Island, played together from under 11s, 12s, all the way up to the senior squad, and they're all back together. Smith Rowe, Nelson, and Iwobi are playing unbelievable football together, and now they've got Raul Jimenez firing, and they've got Muniz firing, and they've got Sasha Lukic strolling about the midfield like João Paulinho didn't even exist. People forgot that Paulinho played for Fulham because Sasha Lukic is like prime Vieira at the moment. So I think Fulham, Joachim Anderson, that is probably for me the signing of the most underrated signing of the summer so far. He's made Fulham miles better defensively, and everything starts in defence. They've got a good keeper in Leno. They've got Anderson now at the back who's shored them up. Midfield is on point, and then they've stopped scoring goals. And I think Fulham are going to beat Villa. So do you want some scores? We'll do them later. Do them in a bit. Do them later.
Why do you think Anderson was allowed to leave?
Did he have 1 year on his contract left? In his last year's contract?
Was that?
I'm not sure, but they paid quite a bit for him, so I'll be surprised. They paid like 30 mil, was it?
29.5 million euros.
Yeah, 30 mil. 30 mil. 30 million euros. I think he was in the last year's contract.
I think he's a top. He's a like top 6 level centre back for me. I think he's that good. And Fulham, they're quietly doing great, getting these great players. I've always liked Fulham. Is one of those clubs where you don't hate because they're not really a rival, but they've got a nice history that you remember them in the Premier League. I think of when they had like Dempsey, Dembele. Who's that guy who hit that volley? Was it Kasami? Was it
Pacham Kasame?
Yeah, Kasami. Yeah, that volley. Bobby Zamora as well. They've had some like really good players. Brian Ruiz. I loved him as well. I loved Brian Ruiz.
They had Luis Saha when they first came up.
Yeah, of course. And their academy's always been good. I think like Carvalho, Harvey Elliott, and they've got some of the great ones coming through as well. So yeah, I would love to see them build on this with the guys at Hale End doing well. Hopefully Nelson moves permanently as well. And who knows where they can go. But yeah, I agree with this game. It would be a fascinating one.
I mean, I think they pose all the problems that you normally think that is going to be an issue with Villa, right? They have guys who can run in behind. They got guys who can kick it behind, right? You have Iwobi, who's good for a long ball. the Burge, who's good in the middle. Like, they have all of the pieces. If you were building a team that was gonna beat Villa on the counter, 2-1 or 3-1, real Unai style, after a solid 1-0 lead after 30 minutes, then they kind of got the pieces that you need to execute that gameplay. Sean, what do you got for us before you leave?
Yeah, if I'm looking at these games and just kind of, I agree a little bit with obviously Newcastle Brighton will be interesting. But I think, one of those other 10 o'clock, 3 p.m. window games that I'm looking at here is the Ipswich Everton. Both of them are obviously just outside the relegation zone early in the season. I just, you kind of feel like Everton has started to right the ship a little bit. Pretty good result last time out. They got this brand new stadium. If you've seen the stadium, man, it's unbelievable. It's going to be so nice. I just kind of feel like they're gonna, turn the corner at some point and start playing a little bit better. And just start, they're not going to move up to 10th or whatever, but you just kind of think they're going to be safe at some point. And Ipswich, obviously, they're going to be in that battle all season. But, same thing. If Ipswich can get 3 points at home against Everton here, that's pretty big for them. Right now, I think they have just they don't have a win yet. They have the 4 draws. But if they can get their first win here, I think that would be massive for Kieran McKenna, obviously one of the other names on the Manchester United list. I think that game will be interesting. Obviously Liverpool, Chelsea, and then the Monday match, Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace. Always the Monday late kickoffs are interesting ahead of the Champions League and the Europa League and Conference League for Chelsea fans. But that game, Nottingham Forest, I think same thing. And we've talked a little bit about Palace earlier. Are they going to get their season kickstarted here? And Nottingham Forest, after the last couple of years struggling, they've been all right this year. And, if they can get another win at home, same thing. I mean, you feel like they're kind of solidified. And, I guess, signing 47 players over the last 3 years. It worked for Chelsea. I guess it's working for Nottingham Forest here. So, they've just, I think, they've been better. You never know going into the season with some of these teams, watching Forest over the last couple of years and some of these other teams, you just never know. I think they've been, kind of surprisingly, competent and interesting to watch. So that game could be good on Monday as well.
Thanks for jumping on, Sean. It's great to see you as always. We'll see you again next week after this round of games.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see if we still have the Ten Hag watch. We'll be
10 Hag watch continues for sure. Like I said, he might be the one who makes it through the international break and then gets a drubbing and gets sacked before the weekend's out.
Yeah.
So
I just never know anymore. But it sounds like, according to one of our experts here, it sounds like, until a certain ex-English manager is ready to come off his vacation or whatever, we might not be making any moves.
Hey, it's even on Fabrizio's site now. Fabrizio, do you see what Fabrizio said? He said, where is it? Let me find it. Someone sent it me and said, I knew this. He said, with Thomas Tuchel taking the England job, Gareth Southgate to Manchester United is starting to feel inevitable.
Yep. Yeah. We got hopefully that doesn't happen, but I don't know. I don't know how it could be worse.
I mean, if it does happen, you know what my moment of the week's going to be, don't you?
Oh no. Terrible.
Yeah. No worries, man.
All right.
Have a good day, man. Have a good day, man.
Yep.
Cheers, Sean. Have a good one, buddy. Circling back to the Everton Ipswich game. Everton are quietly getting their shit together. Pardon my language for those listening at home with kids, all 17 of you. They lost to Southampton on penalties in the League Cup. Then they came back and they drew with Leicester. They got the win against Palace, and then they had the draw away, the draw at home to Newcastle, which for them in this stage is a really big result, which included the Harvey Barnes and the Harvey. What is going on in my brain? What's Dobby's name? Anthony Gordon. Dobby missed the penalty, and man,
Claire Balding. I always call him Claire Balding.
No. He's Sally Webster.
Oh, from
Coronation Street.
Coronation Street. I see that one as well. No, I seen the Claire Balding because one time he had the same hair.
Yeah, he had Sally Webster.
You know, is he their normal penalty taker?
No, it's Alexander Isak.
Oh yeah.
Who's injured?
Who's injured?
Permacrocked Isak. Man, whenever that guy plays, he's great. But boy, whenever he plays, it's not that.
He's been underwhelming this year as well, though. When he has played,
he's a red flag, man.
I think it's a no. Personally, I was saying something the other day. If you think about someone like Šeško and Isak, the gap between them, like I would say he's better than Šeško, but I don't think it's that much of a gap, and he's going to cost twice the price. At
the end of the day, the best ability is availability.
Exactly.
You can be amazing. If you can't play, then we've seen that with Arsenal with Jesus. Like, obviously something's wrong with him. He's got some type of injury. And he hasn't looked the same since he came back from the World Cup, right? But when he's there, he's great. But you gotta be available. You have to be available. Yeah, and I'll take a player that's a 7 out of 10 versus an 8 out of 10, but the 7 out of 10's there every week.
That's why Benjamin Sesko. That's why you take him. He's a couple of years younger than Isaac as well, but you take him because he's bulletproof. He doesn't seem to get injured.
And he's a crazy athlete as well. So and with that takes a lot of discipline, and in terms of looking after his body a bit more. So he's probably got longer down the other end as well. And I think the point what you're saying about him being younger, from Arsenal's point of view, the only worry with both of them is that they're not used to playing against low blocks. But if he's younger, he's got more time to learn that, whereas
I mean, you look at all Arsenal's recent signings, and I know Calafiori had a horrific injury when he was younger. But since then, he's been pretty consistent in terms of not.
He didn't miss a game last season through injury.
Yeah. Jurriën Timber, apart from getting injured, was on his first game. Never had picked it. Oddly, ever missed anything. Declan Rice, bulletproof, and has been for years, hasn't he? At West Ham. Kai's been bulletproof. If you look at Kai's record, he's hardly missed anything since Leverkusen days. We're starting signing players now who actually don't get injured. Even Trossard hardly misses anything, does he? He's hardly ever got a knock.
Yeah.
I'll give Jorginho the pass because Jorginho was in his 30s when we signed him, and it catches up with you eventually, doesn't it?
Yeah.
As we've found out with Thomas Partey in his 40s.
I was going to say Partey and Tomiyasu, both of them weren't before. Do you know what I mean? Before we signed them, never got injured, and now suddenly
Tomiyasu's legs are made of Japanese soda bread.
I mean, Partey's found the fountain of youth. He hasn't missed a game yet.
Have you seen the stats of how much each player's running this season? He's second.
He's covered them all. Kai. Is it Kai and then Thomas, isn't it?
Yeah. In terms of every Arsenal player in the Premier League, he's covered the second most amount of ground.
I think you can see with Partey, he's definitely holding something back. Like, he's not making he's not hitting top speed, even that he was hitting last year, which again is what I think I mentioned it here a couple weeks ago, was I need you to not get hurt. right? So listen, if you need to make these calls, like you don't see Jorginho trying to do that because he knows his body can't do it, right? And it's more important about knowing your body and making those calls. Like, listen, if you can't make the run, don't make the run.
If we have Thomas doing 85% of what he did in 22-23 when we were challenging for the title that first year. If we get him to do 85% of what he did then, that's good enough for me. Because he was scoring goals, he was setting up goals. I mean, that shot at Tottenham, what hit the bar was just mental, wasn't it? I mean, but he was hitting stuff like all the time, wasn't he? He scored against Tottenham, he hit another banger against someone at Forest, he did it against them as well.
But wasn't it
at home?
He hit one and it hit the crossbar and it didn't go in, but the speed it went at was
yeah. No, but he scored at home. He scored at home.
Yeah,
he scored at home against them. It's Forest. He scored against Forest. Reece Nelson set him up, and it was virtually a carbon copy as the one what he scored against Tottenham at home. But then he hit that one on the volley at Tottenham away, what hit the bar, and Gary Neville went, ooh. Yeah, I mean, if he does 85% of what he did then, I'd be happy. But for me, post international break, now we've got some minutes in Marino's legs for Spain, and he'll look good as well. In that 60 minutes yesterday, he looked real good. Now we've got some minutes in his legs. I think, especially playing Bournemouth away, I think you bring Marino on as sub again. I think we start Partey, Rice, Trossard, and we go again with that three. I think Tross playing as a 10 has been great. I think for me, Trossard's probably come out of it as being Ødegaard's replacement.
But that's the thing. It's not one play. Like Mikel said it too. You're not replacing one for one. You're changing it, right? And it's the change, and it's having the 2 10-stroke false nines, right? That's a new one. Where you have Havertz and Trossard who are interchangeable and go long and go short. And if I'm a defender and I'm looking to mark somebody, my head is spinning.
We spoke about this.
It's like an old 4-4-2. And I absolutely love that partnership between the two of them. I think last season as well, the two of them worked really nicely at the back end of the season. And they just seem to naturally understand each other. It's like some players, like when Napoli got Kvaratskhelia and him and Osimhen suddenly look like they've been playing together for 10 years. Like it's some just get like instantly, and I love it. And it makes me think. It's making me look differently at how we would improve the squad and build the squad, having someone else like Trossard.
It's funny you said 4-4-2 because it's somewhat what I've been talking about with someone before, and I said we've gone full on. We have gone full on old school Wenger football now. We've got Gilberto and Vieira, which is Partey and Rice. We've gone with Saka, is Saka Lundberg? He must be, and Martinelli Perez, or the other way around. Either way, but we've got two wide players who don't always stay wide. They do come in quite a bit and cause havoc. Not as much as what Perez used to off the left, and probably not as much as what Lundberg did off the right. And then we've got Henry and Bergkamp. Only we've not got one. Because people don't realise how deep Henry used to come. He didn't used to stand on the last defender all the time. He was in midfield half the time, next to Perez. Like in that gap, and we've gone back to it. We're playing with twin tens, twin sixes, and 2 wide players.
The other thing is what you saw the last couple of games was the willingness of the 3 of them to interchange. And I mean Trossard, Havertz, and Martinelli when they're on together. And there was part where Martinelli was at the center forward position for a while, and Trossard's out wide, and Martinelli was trying to get fed, and they didn't give him the ball, and he looked at Trossard. He's like, I guess I gotta go back over there. But the movement is so it's got to be so frustrating to track if you're a defender.
And I said this earlier about Fulham. A good football team starts at the back, and none of anything what we're doing now from a front six would be possible without the back four. Timber and Calafiore, right back, left back, is now a cheat code. Spurs tried doing it with Pedro Porra and Destiny's Child. They've tried doing that, and they can do so much. They're not as good defensively as our two. Porro's decent going forward. I must admit they are good going forward there too, but they're more ball carriers. We've got carriers and passers. Yeah, our guys can pass. Yeah, that's the difference.
Yeah,
they're not looking up and pinging 30-yard balls, and they're not good in that interchange play. Like I saw Timber at one bit in 2 of the games was the furthest player forward for us. He's centre forward. He's gone past everyone. Forget the overlaps. He's underlapped, and he's gone straight down the half space gap. Bang! I'm having it. And I think that the reason why we've been so good interchanging up front, and why we've got over the hump of having no Ødegaard, and it is a big miss. I think it's just because that back line, they're so comfortable defending with 2 people, and use David Raya as a auxiliary centre back, as a third centre back really, and just letting the 2 fullbacks go. We have played teams, like I said, we have played teams towards the bottom last 2 games, and that's that.
Which provides different challenges offensively and defensively, right? You know, it made me you mentioning Spurs made me think of when we played them in the 2-2 draw last season at home, and I honestly, I think we deserved to win, but I think we also kind of got away with one because when they had Sarr, Basuma, and Madison, like they were at the beginning of that game, they were cooking us for a little bit there. And the way that those guys can turn and receive the ball in the middle of the pitch, you know, is I think that's something that they've missed, as either one or both of them have been out for most of the I don't think either of them have been fit together at the same time, basically since the middle of last year.
You need to think about in that game, we had a midfield 3 in the second half of Jorginho, Havertz, Ødegaard. Because Declan
but I
Rice
was talking about the first half. The first half is when they were having joy against us.
Oh, Vieira,
Vieira started. I remember he started as well, which is even more a thing because physically you're always going to lose with him in the middle. But I think the thing I liked though is Ødegaard not being there means others have to step up, and I think Saka's stepped up so much. Like I know people will say who we were playing, but the last 2 games, the stuff he's been doing was like ridiculous. And a lot of what he does sometimes, because it's not really aesthetic, he doesn't get praised as much. Like compared to Palmer and Foden, you don't see him doing little flicks and turn around like what Palmer did the other day, which was like equally as ridiculous. But I mean, just Saka's just like he's like the club's dream for someone to come through the academy like that and be the perfect example off the pitch and then step up in big games like that. But the thing that with the last 2 games, I think it's helped us. And a bit before, I think it started from the Atalanta game, and we're seeing a lot more rotations with the team. And you were talking about having a bit more interchanging and stuff. Trossard for me was the one in versus Atalanta where I first saw it, and he's like dropping really deep. When we're struggling to get through, he was dropping deep, getting the ball off the centre backs or the midfielders, and just saying, "I'll take it, I'll take care." Dribble past 2 and switch it wide, and I was like, "Oh, we might be onto something here." And then you're getting, like you said, with guys like Timber and Calafiore getting so high up the pitch. You get Rice. You're seeing Rice drop into centre back more as well, which is interesting. Because I love Rice driving forward, but the issue with it when he's at left centre mid, he's too far away from that block in the middle. And you know, with that Villa game when Rodgers got past him easily, I think that happens because Rice is running the same direction. You want Rice to be facing the play, and I think long term that will happen. I think Rice will be the 6, but for now we've got Partey, who's been great as well, and I got to hold my hands up with Party.
It
I was
solves
a bit
it solves so
thing, but
many
yeah.
problems though, right? Because you have Rice deeper, he can see and attack the ball defensively, but he also needs the seeing for the passing, right?
Yeah.
His passing is not as bad as people make it out to be, but it is not as good when you're trying to have him up a line where he's receiving and trying to receive on the half turn. Party can do that, Rice can't, right? So if you give Rice the view, do you guys remember the Madden passing cones? Like the different QBs used to, like his passing cone is wide if he's in the back, right? But the more forward you get it, the more narrow his passing cone becomes, and you start to run into submissions.
And the one thing about his passing is long passing is really good. At West Ham, it always was, and we're seeing more switches this season than last season already.
Yep.
I don't know what the numbers
both
are,
sides.
but yeah, and I think Rice being at that lower role will really help with that. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens when Marino comes in, because I think the one thing that we have seen from Marino, I think he's been a little bit slow on the ball. He's looked a little bit rusty when he has played. The little nice glimpses, but the big thing is the defensive side. I think you look at Partey, we're talking about he looks like he's holding back a little bit at times, but Marino's tackling is more like Rice's tackling, and then he can turn quick nicely on the ball and then play a nice slip pass. So I'm excited. I think what you were saying before, Nigel, I think we'll keep the same midfield, but then Shakhtar, maybe Marino starts, maybe Jorginho, but yeah, Marino at least.
One thing that shout out to George from the Cannon podcast, pointed out about Marino in the scouting video is that he doesn't hold the ball. And it's something that I've been really paying attention to and keying in on. That dude, that ball is out of his feet as quick as it comes in, right? And so he is. Go ahead.
He's releasing like Aaron Rodgers. He's got Aaron Rodgers release. It's bang, bang, gone. It's gone. It's in.
He catches it and it's gone, man. The way that keeps play ticking over, and it's different. It's a different than Jorginho. It's interesting how all of the profiles of the midfielders that we have all have some vague similarities and differences, right? And they're kind of along the spectrum of possession, super progressive, right? And then somewhere in between, and how those different pieces give you so many faces, both when you're preparing a starting lineup, but also how do you adapt to the game state. It's quite fascinating.
It's funny you mention about slow passing, because if we look at Liverpool versus Chelsea, although they're two teams in the top four, and don't get me wrong, they're playing good football for who they've played against and stuff like that. I think that this is going to be two of the slowest midfields going up against each other. Ponderous midfields. There is no pace in either. You got Caicedo and Enzo up against Gravenberch and McAllister. There ain't no pace there. And they don't release the ball quick either. All four of them like to hold on to the ball and have a cup of tea and have a look around before they actually do anything. So it requires your front four in front of that to pick up the pace. So for Chelsea, it'll be Nkunku, Palmer, Madueke and Jackson. Loads of pace there. And for Liverpool, it'll be Salah, Jota, probably Gakpo and Szoboszlai. So still more pace, still quite a bit of pace there. I don't know why I don't like Nunes. It's a funny one for me. You don't like Nunes.
Yeah.
I think Jones is injured, so he probably won't play anyway. Elliott's not really had a look in under Slot. So it's going to be a game which has got some great attacking fullbacks, very slow midfields, but then great and then good pace up front. So it's got 0-0 written all over it.
Have you seen some of these passes? Some of these passes that Cole Palmer, friend of the show, Cole Palmer, lest anybody think that we don't like Cole Palmer around here. A friend of the show, Cole Palmer, he's been putting in some crazy balls these last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking about, if these things like assist of the month type of balls that Jackson invariably puts into row 317. Do you think that he could be the key, Ben, in breaking down and breaking through the slow Liverpool midfield?
Yeah. I think with Palmer, he's one of them that he finds the space, whether he'll find it where he's going to receive the ball or he's going to find it in the defense. And it depends how Liverpool play this game. Are they at home? Are they?
Yeah, Liverpool's at home.
Liverpool's at home.
Yeah, and so that being the case, I think that suits Chelsea more. I don't think it suits them attacking side, but defense. I don't like their defense. I don't rate it. I love Colwell. I think Colwell's great, but apart from him, there's a lot of players in there that are a bit shaky. And to sit in a low block, I'm not sure against some of the better teams. But the other side to it, if Liverpool going all out in an attack, Chelsea are set up to hit teams on transition. And I think away they might get a few results against some bigger teams because Palmer, we're talking about his passing, those type of through balls. And as much as people banter strikers like Jackson and Nunes as well as another one, they create chances. They're inevitable that they're going to create chances. He will get at least 3 good chances against Liverpool. Whether he scores them or not, we don't know. But he will get them. And that's the thing that they've got going for them there. And when you've got, I don't think they'll play on Nkunku though, because weirdly they've been starting Sancho. I mean, Sancho's been good, I'll be honest, but Nkunku for me has to start. Like he's like a top player. In their team, he's one of the best ones in terms of ability. Yeah, it will be an interesting game. The one player I'm most looking forward to seeing is Gravenberch because he's done really well recently, but now playing up against Palmer as a direct opponent, basically, he's got to be on him. If he gives Palmer space, that's it. You know, he's going to get something from there. So that's the key battle there.
The one game where he came up against someone tough, Gravenberch, was against Bologna and he struggled.
Yeah.
And I think it was Derbyshire we were playing opposite. It might have been Derbyshire. We were playing opposite.
Yeah, I think they had Urbanski as well.
Yeah. And he struggled. You'd think Gravenberch has got pace, but he's a leggy Kobe Minu. Oh, and that's the point. Kobe Minu was out injured for Man U, so that's.
I was going to say that. Yeah, he's out for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So check this out. Check this out, guys. I was looking at some fixtures heading into the next international break. So Chelsea play at Anfield. They go away to Panathinaikos in Greece this Thursday in the Conference League. Then they're hosting Newcastle. Then they're away at Newcastle in the EFL Cup. Then they play Man U. They host Noah, who's hopefully bringing their arc for the Conference League game at Stamford Bridge, and then they play Arsenal. So that's their list. So Liverpool, Newcastle, Man U, Arsenal in the league, with some pretty gnarly away trips in between there. And Liverpool have Chelsea. They go away to Leipzig. They go to the Emirates to face Arsenal. Then they have Brighton in the League Cup, and then they play Brighton in the league. They have Leverkusen and Aston Villa is their last game at home before the next international break. Who do you guys think has the tougher fixture list for this next block of games before the November break?
I would say Liverpool, and it doesn't get better because after that they've got Villa, Southampton, Real Madrid, City, Newcastle, Everton. Yeah, I mean Everton's away.
I want to say Liverpool mid October to December to Christmas was horrendous. It's a horrendous run.
Yeah. They definitely, it's one of those situations where you get the good rub of the green on the first patch, and they've done what they needed to do, which was points accumulation up until this point, minus the one loss. But you'll take it coming out of that block, and then you're gonna come into the business end of the season, and it's gonna be interesting, I think, for Slot in Nigel, interested in your opinion on how do you think there's going to be adversity for every team this season, right? Arsenal have had two games where they were down to 10 men. How do you think that this Liverpool team and Arne Slot is gonna react to their first setback in this season?
Well, they had a setback, didn't they? They lost to Forest, and to be fair, they had an easy out back into it, didn't they? They played Bournemouth at home, and Bournemouth just rolled over and let them tickle the belly a bit. It's not bad when you follow a home defeat and you got another home game. You think, right, we need to fix this. I think the worry for him will be is if they start dropping points regularly against the better teams. Now they've got an harder schedule. If they start dropping points, if they drop points against Chelsea, and then all of a sudden they go to Arsenal and they get beat at Arsenal, it'll be like, hold on a minute. I think a bit of self-doubt can come in where you think, perhaps we're on at the top of the league because we've played all the bottom teams. And at that point, you know what I mean? Self-doubt could kick in. We're not as good as what we thought we were. On the other side of it, beat Chelsea, go to the Emirates, get a result at the Emirates. Think, people were talking about us because we'd only played 18th, 19th, 20th. Look at us now, we're beating everyone. And that it can go the other way. It can go the other way. It happened to Arsenal in 22-23. We started the season off playing not hard games. Palace away, first game, pretty hard. We lost at Old Trafford. We should have beat Man U at Old Trafford. But first 6 games, not bad. And then all of a sudden we had Spurs and Liverpool within 2 weeks of each other at home. And we were like, bang, bang, won both. And we took off. Because everyone had said, oh, you've only played easy teams. You got beat by the only good team you played, Man United. And then we won them 2 and we took off. That was it. Gone into the sunset. No one even stayed near us until City came roaring back at the end when we ran out of petrol. We did a bit of a Bonnie and Clyde, didn't we? So yeah, so that's what I see. So yeah, so what score do you, I said 0-0. What score do you guys think for Liverpool Chelsea?
I think it's so hard to get a win at Anfield as a visitor. When was the last time they lost a game there? It was like under the previous prime minister, right? 2 prime ministers ago.
No, Anfield. Sorry, wasn't Forest.
Forest beat them. Forest beat them this season 1-0.
Yeah, that was at Anfield.
That was at Anfield.
Yeah.
You know,
remember
that won't happen. Okay, so then we're gonna need a new prime minister before the next loss. So it's not happening, man. I say 1-1. Cole Palmer penalty and
Salah penalty.
And a Salah penalty. Sounds about right. Ben?
So yeah, I mean, go on, Ben.
I want to say a Liverpool win. Yeah, I think 2-2 or something. No, 2-1 Liverpool. I really hope Chelsea don't get a result here. I don't want them to keep building confidence. But yeah, every time I say I hope something, it does happen. So I'm the reverse of Nigel. I predict the opposite of what's going to happen.
So if you predict a draw, then it'll be a draw.
It doesn't work like that somehow, yeah.
Well, boys, it was good to have you guys on today. It was good to chat. And we should get back in the run. We'll have a few solid weeks until the next international break. We'll have Champions League will be back this week as well. So it's going to be a full week, three games in 7 days kind of thing. A game every 3 days, as they like to say, which always cracks me up when they say like we're playing 3 times a week, but we only play twice a week. But you know, that's none of my business. I just go with the narratives, and you'll find us here. Like, follow, subscribe, do all of the things. All right. Like and subscribe on YouTube, notifications so you never miss a show. Follow us on X at We All Follow Pod, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks, boys.
Thank you.